Okay then, I think that's just about dry now. So I'm going to go back in and start sort of darkening things up a bit, putting some depth of colour into it, some interest. So I think I might start with this wall that runs along the back there, just behind the boats. Okay, so I'm just using a mixture of light red, raw sienna, cerulean blue, but I'm not mixing them all, combining them all together. I'm keeping them all kind of separated within the palette. You can just see there, just so I'm kind of picking up bits and mixing them on the page, just trying to keep it I want to keep the brushwork really loose and just skip around, leaving light areas, you know, not sort of completely blocking it all in. And changing the colour as I go. So we have lots of different variations of colour. Careful, that's still a bit wet, some of that paint. And drop some nice blue in, which I find works very well. Cools it all down a bit. And later we'll come back and we'll sort of pull some detail out of these areas to make them more interesting. But I just want to keep it really loose and free. Now there's some little doors here. Just going to literally go down and just indicate them as little splodges. And when that dries, I'll go back in and just tidy them up a bit of line work. Same over here. I'm trying to use a sort of a broken brush stroke there. It's only a short area to achieve it, not a big area, it's not a big sweep, so sometimes it's quite hard to get that broken brushwork, because it's those little bits of white or tinted paper that's left behind afterwards is what really gives it some impact. Now we'll move to this little cottage here. And I'm just going to block that straight in. Some colour. And then in a second, when that dries a little bit, I'm going to come back and paint the windows. Put the windows in. So that was just a mixture of cobalt and burnt umber. That's the front there. And I'm just using the brush on its side and literally dragging it across the paper. And you can just see how it's leaving areas of paint on the tooth of the paper. Don't overdo it, but it's a good effect to use. Now I want to get some really dark pigment before those washes dry, and for this I'm using some raw sienna and some ultramarine, and I'm just going to, where there's ladders and stuff going on, I'm just going to draw this in, and again I'm trying to get it pretty dry. So it does bleed in, but not too much. Just where the light's hitting it. Lots of little things going on. So it's not painting them as such, thinking, oh, that's a little box or that's a post. It's just looking at the dark areas and then going in and just dabbing them in. Do the same with the windows on this little cottage. It's just an indication of where they are. Just scratch some detail into the roof, just where the light's hitting it. Okay, now we've got to try and sort out this mess I made on this cottage when I splashed water on it. So, because it's already looking a bit messy, I need to keep it as clear as I can. So I'm just going to go for a straight line across there. Just put the shadow in as simply as I can, because it's already a bit messy and I don't want to draw anybody's eye to it too much. That's not great, but I'll have to do. Let's just give that a little bit of quite how I planned it. Anyhow, this is the thing with watercolour. Things often don't go as you're planning. And it's having that ability to have something go completely wrong, or not go quite as you want it. But not giving up, just persevere with it, and often you'll be pleased with the way your painting will turn out. Sometimes you won't be, but you learn a lot by the mistakes you make. It's not necessarily a bad thing to be making mistakes. You know, you can learn an awful lot by the mistakes you're making. So that it's not necessarily a bad thing, you know, to have bad things going on. He says. Shadow down that side. Yes, shadow. Basically, most of this is in shadow. But in a minute we'll come back into that area and we'll tighten it up with, well, might as well do it now. This is the brushwork. So basically what I tend to do is I paint very loosely with a bigger brush, and then I go back just before it dries and then tighten those areas up with a kind of suggested detail using a rigger just before it goes, before it dries completely. Oh, you've got to wait for it to dry. Now I'm trying to rush it now. It's not. You can't rush things. You can, but you'll make a mess if you do. So try not to. Try not to. Now I want to put a nice shadow if that gets cast. Nice earthy shadow. It's cast off this roof, just back here. Across there. Just makes that cottage show up a bit more. Go down some. Just while we're here, we'll come into this wall. Try and keep the brushwork moving. And then just go back in. Again, I've done that loose brushwork, as I said. Then before it dries, at any point, I go back and just describe some textures, draw some posts and some, just look at the, you know, just keep it fluid. Don't let things become too hard and static and laboured looking. You know, you're looking. I'm just going to carry a bit of reflection. This sounds kind of wet here, so I just want to take that down to the water a little bit. Just keeping those brush strokes, like I said, all wet and juicy. You don't want it to start to look too weak and right. That's nearly dry now there, so I want to just drop this in because I want the edges to fuse. I want to get the dark in. That's it. Same with underneath here. Just suggest the windows. There we go. You know, you can get away with pretty bad painting, But if you can kind of get the lights into it and create some interest that way, you know, your painting can still be pretty passable. It doesn't have to be, you know, just like this. It's just about keeping the painting lively. Now I'm just sort of drawing some detail on these little boats here. And they've all got nice little mizzen masts, I think, at the back. And I'm just not outlining the whole thing. I'm just picking areas to outline. If you outline it all, it will look too much. If you just pick little areas. Because what I like about watercolour painting is the lovely. What I look for is that impressionistic feel that you can get. A little bit of reflection of water down here. Just keep it loose and pick up some of the reflection here. That blue boat in the water. And eventually there'll be a shadow that's going to come out from that building there, which will add some interest. Okay, right, now it's just a question of getting this area down here done. Let's let that dry a minute and come back and do that. Okay, then I'm just going to put some shadows in cast by the buildings here, and for that I'm just using light red and cobalt blue. Come across that part of the boat. Just help that water stand out a little bit. I can use these same shadows for little shadows that the boats are casting. Just there. Okay, leave that for a minute. I'm just going to put a little bit of dry brush work in some of the foreground here, and for that I'm just using cerulean blue and some burnt sienna, make a nice grey-brown colour. Just want to again use the brush very lightly to do that. just darken areas of that up later. Okay. Now I'm just going to put some shadows in these boats. Just to give them a bit of shape. You can see that okay. Some shadow there. And I'm not, you know, messing about too much. I'm just blocking it in really, and then I'll come back in a minute and pick out some detail with the rigger. Yeah, nice grey, neutrally type grey colour with cerulean blue. It's a really useful colour, so everybody should have that in their palette. Okay, don't want to go too far there. So now I'm going to switch to the rigger and start etching out some detail. Some ropes. So I'm just sort of painting this with very similar colours, very sort of neutral grey colours, but so it's basically just splodging the colour on and then going round afterwards, tightening that detail up with a rigger, but remembering to use that in a kind of a dry brush way, so it's not all sort of line, if you like. It's kind of, you've got lots of broken edges. Okay, we'll leave that for a minute to dry and then we'll come back. Okay then, all I've got left to do really, or all I'm going to do is just put in the masts quickly on the boat. To do that I've taken the clips off, because I like to turn my paper onto its side and use a maul stick to give me a pretty accurate line, so it's not too wobbly. So if I can find my stick, let's pop that there. I just have an old stair rod I use. I've used this for years and it works really well. So just mix up a grey browny colour, get that somewhere. And just put it in roughly, and I'll do the same with the other one. I want to keep the brush quite dry, because you don't want a solid line all the way down, it will look too heavy. I'm a bit lazy about doing it really. And then what we do in this one, I'll stay there. Connect it to the boat. Get a little bit of shadow colour, grey blue, just to carry the shadows on down there. That's it really. I'm just going to leave it like that. Often to add a little bit of interest. And I just often draw something with a pencil. Not like that, I don't. Yeah. I hope that was of some help to you. Sorry if I've kind of rambled on a bit as I've done it. But it's interesting because you see me do this painting, you see me make a few mistakes and how I've kind of recovered from them by not panicking, because most mistakes within watercolour painting you can recover from. You know, nothing's that serious, but I think we've created quite a nice moody painting here, quite sort of evocative of Cornish fishing villages, and you know, they're full of sort of like rich earthy colours. They're old, they're gnarly. It's kind of interesting places to go and paint. That's why artists go there, I suppose. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please just sort of think about popping along to my Facebook page and liking it, and you can see more stuff that's coming up in the future. My website's being redeveloped as we speak, and my course is going to be based at my website with videos, a members area, and all sorts of other things. There's going to be hopefully, if we can get people organised, there's going to be like monthly painting competitions, and there's going to be a prize, and the prize is going to be winning one of my paintings, which I will then ship and send at my expense anywhere around the world. So you know, if nothing else, you stand a chance of winning a painting. You might not want one, you could sell it on eBay, you might get a tenner for it, but you know, you can anyway, if you think about it, come onto the Facebook page, visit my website, stuff like that, and don't forget to like and subscribe here. Thanks ever so much, and bye for now.